control traffic. Okay, stop.
Now note, he's in the ambulance. He's where he needs to be immediately transported to the hospital. Cops are running. They're excited. I have no idea why at this point.
Grab him down, grab him down, grab him down. Oh.
Welcome, everyone. I am Leroy Truth for Leroy Truth Investigations. Because the truth, recording our public officials, the cops, in the course of their duty, so keep things transparent and shall help us to hold them accountable and keep us free. Now, this story today is extremely disturbing, and it is the most egregious torture that I have seen on a human being. And I highly recommend that you watch this video in its entirety. It will not be easy to watch. And the point of my channel is not for views. It's not to make money. I own an international consulting company. That's my foundation. Not that there's anything wrong with making money with YouTube videos, but my mission is to bring about police reform with your help. We could absolutely do it. And I am demanding it from our public officials because they're not our public masters. We are the masters of them. And I want you to watch this video. Let this be your tipping point. Enough is enough. To take action. Never violence. I do not ask anyone. I'm telling everyone, no violence. But when I mean action, I mean taking action with send this video, a link to this video, as a microcosm of one example that illustrates the profound poison, depravity, authoritarianism, totalitarianism of the police state in the United States of America. Because there's no police reform. The politicians have talked for decades about it. They don't want it. Please protect them from us. We need to hold our public officials accountable. So send a link to this video to all of your local government people, your state and your federal elected people. And let's demand once and for all, because I'm committed to it. I'm not trying to create police reform. I'm committed to it. And I have created a lot of success in areas like this throughout my life. And I'll tell you more about that another time. This story today comes from Killeen, Texas. The gentleman had a profound medical episode, a seizure, which left him unconscious while he was in the parking lot of a Burger King. The police treated him as a criminal. Comply or die is their mantra, even though he needed medical attention. They went to the ambulance. They tased the shit out of him 6 times. Took him out of the ambulance instead of taking him to the hospital. Let's get right to the story. This comes from the Killeen Daily Herald in Killeen, Texas. And attorneys, they released the body cam footage to the media, which you're going to see in a few minutes. So stay tuned for that. You will see exactly what the police did. The depraved torture to a man who was unconscious from a seizure in an ambulance, and they pulled him out of the ambulance, put him into a police car when he should have been going to the hospital. Attorneys, Killeen police officers should be fired, prosecuted, absolutely prosecuted with prejudice for brutal attack. The attorneys who alleged that 3 Killeen police officers brutalized Truman McCullum while he was in medical distress demanded during a news conference at Lions Club Park on Monday that they be fired and prosecuted. It is not a crime in the state of Texas or anywhere in the great United States of America to have a medical emergency. And that's precisely what my client did when he had an accident in the Burger King drive-thru, Matt Manning said. It is irrefutable and indefensible what happened to Truman McCullum. Each and every one of these officers needs to be fired from the Killeen Police Department and the Overton Police Department, where one of them now works. Manning of Corpus Christi law firm, Webb, Kaysen, and Manning, and Rossi Williams of Rossi Williams Law Group of Miami, Florida, said the officers named in the lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court in Waco, Franklin Melendez and Joshua Plowick, remain with the Killeen Police Department. And again, you just saw a little tiny bit of the video, which I couldn't show any more in the beginning. Otherwise, YouTube would probably not even allow me to put this video up. And they keep canceling my videos. There's so much censorship, it's insane. And I'll save that for another video. They remain with the police department, and Officer Edward Urena has since joined the Overton Police Department in East Texas. That is depraved. Again, when you see this video, they should not be seeing the light of day for decades, let alone still being allowed to work for the public. They use excessive force against McCullum in violation of his individual rights under the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution when they illegally detained him on January 16, 2021, tasing him 6 times and causing immense pain when they had no legal authority to use any force whatsoever, according to the suit filed on January 13th. Not only did they have no legal authority, from a human being to a human being, how can you be so depraved and so soulless? You can only do that if you think of the general public as less than, as animals. That's how they did it in that country. Starts with a G. That's how they do it in any war, in any situation. They dehumanize the people they abuse. In their mind, they don't even think they're doing anything wrong. That's really messed up. In the state of Texas, when you assault somebody with a deadly weapon, that is aggravated assault. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, tasers are not innocuous. Like, here's a tase. They're going to tase you. Oh, it tickles. It creates excruciating pain. A person is being electrocuted by thousands of volts of electricity. It is a deadly weapon. I just read something earlier today where a gentleman was simply sitting in his car and cops did a stop and frisk. That's fucking unconstitutional. No probable cause, no stopping someone. They ended up electrocuting him. And he even was begging them, telling him he has a bad heart. They didn't care. They just kept going. Once they tasted blood, just like any wild animal, uncivilized animal in the kingdom, they went until he was dead. That's another story. Continuing here. In the state of Texas, when you assault somebody with a deadly weapon, that is aggravated assault. That's precisely what we saw these 3 officers do. All 3 of these officers need to be arrested immediately. That's the least of it for aggravated assault. City leaders who run the city, most of whom look like the people standing right here, black people, all need to be voted out. It is not a racial problem. It is an authoritarian problem and a human rights problem, profoundly, as this illustrates clearly. And continuing, we cannot allow this to happen anymore. No. And we're done with speeches. We want action. I do this. I created the Leroy Truth Investigations channel to create police reform, not to get clicks, not to get views, not to make lots of money. I own a very successful international company, a consulting company. I don't do this for the money. I do this for the mission. Because many of you who watch my channel know this, there's many new viewers, I personally stood up for my rights. First time I did this 30 years ago. A cop demanded my ID when I did nothing wrong. He didn't like that. He pulled a gun, pointed it directly at my head with his finger on the trigger, with the gun to the temple of my head. I'm 1/8 trigger pull away, 1/8 inch trigger pull away from being murdered. My crime? Standing up for my constitutional rights. He wouldn't give me a reason to show my ID, so I ain't giving him my ID. And I was willing to die for it. And I'm here to see this through. For you, for my son, for my family, my friends, and for you, your family, your friends. We will change this. Continuing. Just over 25 minutes of video from Urena's body cam. Only one cop's body cam? What's up with that? shows officers remove McCullum from his car after he hit another driver from behind in the drive-thru at Burger King on East Stand Schluter Loop. McCullum is unconscious in the driver's seat with both airbags deployed. "Hey, sir," an identified officer said, "look at me. You're going to have to step out of that car. Can you talk to me? Say something, anything. Open your eyes." The guy was fucking unconscious. It's like someone who speaks English goes to a foreign country, say Spain, Italy, wherever it is, and they talk to someone who doesn't speak English, and then they start yelling louder in English as if that will suddenly, somehow, miraculously translate into Spanish or Italian or French, whatever it is. Same with cops. A guy's unconscious. You can yell louder all you want with your authoritarian bullshit, you stupid, pig-headed motherfucker. And that's not going to bring that person to consciousness. Oh, but they're not complying. But they're unconscious. Doesn't matter. They're not complying. So I must electrocute them. Maybe even kill them. Got to get compliance at all costs. That's what the culture of police is. Continuing. "Hey, sir," an unidentified officer said to repeat this. "Look at me. You're going to have to step out of that car. Can you talk to me? Say something. Anything. Open your eyes." Plowick is eventually heard telling another officer that McCullum is way out of it before he was strapped to a gurney and placed inside the ambulance. That's when McCullum appears to come to and is confused about where he is and what's happening to him. As many of you know, when a person suffers a seizure, X amount of people, they remember nothing except what happened right before the seizure. The last he knew, he was in line, hungry as hell, waiting for a Whopper at Burger King. He wanted to have it his way. Instead, he wakes up in an ambulance with 3 or 4 large, depraved, vicious cops attempting to get him to comply when he's out of it. He is not in his mind yet. And they're electrocuting him. And then they're saying, "calm down." Continuing. But the Killeen Police Department, instead of following the cues of the people who worked at the Burger King, who said that this man had a seizure, these cops are supposed to be incredible investigators, right? The cops were told he had a seizure. What would a cop do? The number one thing. Would they say, "Oh, I bet the guy's drunk. I just got to beat the shit out of him"? If they had fucking brain cells, says, "Oh, seizure, medical emergency, he needs to get to the ambulance, get to the hospital as soon as possible, and we need to get the fuck out of here." Or maybe let's be useful and let's clear the way so the ambulance can safely drive at a high rate of speed to get to the hospital and potentially save this gentleman's life. But no, they're all about compliance, not about humanity. Continuing. But the Killeen Police Department, instead of following the cues of the people who worked at the Burger King who said this man had a seizure, came and treated him less than human, Manning said. A man who's a father, a husband, a genuine all-American man whose entire family has devoted itself to the service of his country should not be treated like livestock at the Bell County Rodeo. And as you'll see in the video, they actually laugh about it, about how many times they've tased him, what excruciating pain he's in. They laughed. And they still have jobs, let alone that they're not in jail in a general population of a maximum security prison with a good old badge on. What they need to do is take their badges and their costumes, minus the guns, be in general population prison, and see how well they get treated. What power this gives them over people and their police costumes as well. Disgusting. Attorney Williams and I are under the Constitution have brought a claim for excessive force. You think? Manning released the body cam video to the Herald and other media. It shows at least 4 officers in the back of the ambulance screaming at McCullum while he was tased at least 6 times. He was handcuffed and eventually taken from the ambulance. He was taken from the ambulance, not to the hospital where a man who just came out of a seizure needed to go. What type of medical distress was he in over and above the seizure? What caused the seizure? What effects did the seizure have on his body, his heart, his brain? Cops didn't care. This is one of the most depraved things I have ever seen in my life. This gentleman was at the most vulnerable in his life after coming out of a seizure, a severe seizure that causes him to have a car accident strong enough in a drive-through where his airbags are deployed on his side and his passenger side. He has a medical emergency. The cops see things differently. They have a compliance emergency, and they will do everything in their power up until and including electrocuting the person, even murdering them if they don't get compliance. They're electrocuting him. Now, his lawyer goes on to say, I want you to imagine being inside of a box. And this is like a tiny ambulance, by the way, you'll see. This gentleman is 6'3", trying to turn over when he has no fucking idea where he is. You're trying to show your hands, trying to see what's going on. You just came out of a seizure. You have no memory of what's going on, where you are, how you got here. And over and over and over. Tase, electrocute. Tase, electrocute. Comply, electrocute. Comply or die. Comply or die. That's the mantra for the cops. Comply or die. Imagine, you don't even know what's going on. Just came out of a seizure. He was begging for them to stop. He was crying for them to stop. They do not see him as human. If you're not a cop, you're not a human. And they will treat you like a dog, even worse than a dog. I bet they treat their dogs better than they treat humans who are not cops. Photos provided by Manning show what appear to be injuries McCollum sustained from being tased multiple times, including his feet. He's in the ambulance to receive medical treatment, Williams said. Instead, they handcuff him, and they pull him out of the ambulance, handcuffed after electrocuting him 5 or 6 times. They walk him all across the parking lot, which you're going to see in the video. He has no idea what's going on. He's just begging for them to stop. He has no shoes. He's asking them, begging them to stop. And they put him in the back of the police car, already handcuffed, and guess what the torture animals do? They tase him again. And then, officer is even laughing. Urena's body cam footage appears to confirm that McCullough was tased again inside the car. He and other officers can be heard laughing and uttering obscenities about how many times they tased him. They need to be in jail so fast they don't know what hit him. That's why you hear him screaming inside of the police car, Williams said. And while he is screaming, the officer is laughing. But if that wasn't enough, they take him off to jail, and we begin to see the officers have their little conspiracy meeting. What charges will they trump up against him? They got to get compliance or die. That is a reference to when another Killeen police officer, named only as Sergeant Matthews in the lawsuit, huddles with the other officers to discuss how they will charge McCollum. What criminal offense do we have to arrest him? Because obviously he's already gone, she said in the body cam footage. So what criminal offense do we have? We got to find something. We got to cover our asses. We always have to be right and make them wrong. We're the victims here. Not this gentleman who we just electrocuted 6 times and tortured. We find out there is a man possibly seizing, but we're not sure. Urena suggested charging McCollum with resisting arrest because it's the best we've got right now. A barely conscious man resisting arrest. Remember, these cops don't have IQs over, barely mentally challenged. We're not talking with the brightest tools in the shed here. The sharpest tools in the shed. But Plowhawk disagreed. The only issue I see with charging him with resisting is he was, not coherent enough to understand that you're the police. What the fuck? Okay, so he had an IQ of 61 instead of 60. That's when they appear to settle. Aha! I got a brilliant idea. DWI charge. That's it. That'll stick. He was acting like that. Suspicion of this is DWI, Plowhawk proudly said. Urena agreed. Offense is going to be DWI. We got it, man. God, we are smart. According to Manning and Williams, and a handwritten note included in the lawsuit, a Burger King employee explained to police that McCollum was having a medical emergency, but they didn't care. They had a compliance emergency. The employee had to come out of the Burger King, Williams said. He told police, I had to jump in the car and turn it off because the man was still unconscious. When he called 911, it was for medical assistance. Instead, what he received were police who came here bent on violating Truman's rights. The last thing they cared about was his well-being and health. The last thing he knew was that he was in a drive-thru making an order. Hungry for some of those yummy fries. He did not even know he experienced a seizure. He had no recollection of it, and his mind wasn't right yet. He was barely conscious. In the lawsuit that also names the city of Killeen as a defendant, the attorneys allege the officers violated McCullum's Fourth Amendment rights. It's my own brother who has been brutalized by Killeen police, Williams said. My brother is standing here with his wife, who's in the Army Reserves. I served this country in the Army. Our older sister is retired Army. All of our cousins are retired Army. My brother's best friend standing here is a retired chief warrant officer. Attorney Manning and I came to clean house, she said. We came to sweep out these corrupt officers. And what we're saying to the people of Killeen, don't you go silent. But these are not simply corrupt officers. The chief of police is culpable. The lieutenants, the captains, the sergeants. It is a culture that trains them like this and allows this. In previous videos, I've talked about the chain of command. In chain of command, military or in police, the underlings are not allowed to fart unless they get permission. Anything that happens like that depraved behavior, that comes from the top down. That's how you start to change it. You clean house up on top as well. Don't let them off the hook. They're the ones who create the culture, supervise them, and they know everything they do. It's been allowed. It says, the time to stop killing us is now. See our faces, police officers. See our faces, city council. See my face, because I didn't come here to play. This is one of the most depraved things I've ever seen. Send this to all of your local politicians, your state politicians, your federal politicians. Send this video to them. Because this is a microcosm of the national culture of policing. Demand police reform immediately, including getting rid of police unions. Got to cut the head off the snake right there. I'm going to show you the video. Now, I'm going to show you the video. And this comes from the channel Roland S. Martin. Please subscribe to him. And this video is extremely disturbing. I encourage you to watch it. Not simply to get upset, but to get upset enough that you take action. And I don't mean violent. I don't mean violent action. I mean peaceful action. But demand from your local, state, and federal politicians. We demand police reform. They're our public servants. They are not our public masters. We are the masters. It's like a chia pet that looks like so cool. Look at it. It's growing little green, furry plant matter all over its little shape there. But then it goes out of control because we didn't pay attention. And that's exactly what happened to the cops. They became the ones that they are free to do whatever they want without accountability, without impunity. It's time we took it back the reins and trim the chia pet once and for all. So here is Roland S. Martin.
Folks, here a Roland Martin exclusive. A Texas man, folks, was tased in an ambulance after he had a seizure. He was tased by Killeen police officers. He has now filed a federal lawsuit against the 3 police officers, as well as the city, alleging that his civil rights were actually violated. Truman McCollum Jr. suffered a medical emergency at a Burger King parking lot, causing him to hit another vehicle. This took place on January 16, 2021. Now, he was not responsive when he was removed from his car. He is then taken to an ambulance. Now, this exclusive body cam video provided to us by his attorneys shows Truman being tased multiple times in the ambulance, and again when they moved him to the police car. Now, before
he had a medical emergency, he's in an ambulance. He needs to be taken to the hospital immediately, but the cops want compliance for some freakazoid unknown reason.
Before we show you the video, we want you to warn you because it could be triggering for you. This is the first time, again, that this has been actually shown. So let's play the video.
Traffic. Okay, stop.
Now note, he's in the ambulance. He's where he needs to be immediately transported to the hospital. Cops are running. They're excited. I have no idea why at this point.
Grab him down, grab him down.
By the way, things weren't crazy in the ambulance before they came in. It was quiet. Now look what they do.
Get your taser. Stop being your taser. Here we go.
Stop. Let me see your hands.
You see his eyes? He is completely out of it. He does not know what he's doing. They are torturing an almost unconscious man here. This is the most depraved behavior I've ever seen. He is in his most vulnerable state with this incredible medical emergency here, and they're torturing him, treating him worse than they would a dog.
Turn around. Get on your stomach. Get on your stomach. Look at Josh. Let's keep moving.
Stop.
Stop. Stop. Turn around, quit. Face that way. Face that way.
Okay, man.
Stop. Quit. Hold the spot.
Here we go, please.
Get down, get down. Still fighting.
I think he said he couldn't breathe at one point as well. Those are very disturbing, very too familiar words.
Quit! Get his arms! Quit moving! Get his arms! Get his arms! Watch that taser! Sam, we need more units! Stop! Give me your hand. Quit!
You gonna get it again.
Get one arm.
Let me see your hands.
Quit moving. Quit moving.
Hands are coming down. I don't want to.
These savage criminal cops are on top of this guy. It is instinct to get out of that situation when you are being suffocated in every manner possible and being electrocuted. But they want comply or die.
Stop!
I got one. Quit! Get the other hand. Get the other hand. I can't. Quit. Grab this one. Keep it there. Quit. Quit. Stay still. Quit. I need double cuff him.
Now they want to double cuff him. There are already torture cuffs. Handcuffs should be illegal, except for people who pose a danger to society. I mean, there are already torture instruments. They want to double cuff him now.
We're working on it. We'll drive slow.
It doesn't matter how it gets put on. Got him. Sam, what's the pain? Stop moving.
One detained, but he's still uncontrollable.
Uncontrollable. He was fine. He was a fucking ambulance. And by the way, who's missing here? I don't see any medical personnel. Why aren't they tearing the cops off of this guy's body? It's their job to make sure no harm comes to these cops. Where are they? Are they just complying with the cops? Obviously, they're either complying with them, they're feared for their lives, which I understand if they do, or they were also tased and they're unconscious in a ditch somewhere because the cops didn't want any interference from whatever the freak torture they're doing.
He's outside now. Quit. Fuck.
You all okay?
Hey, calm down, man. Calm down. Calm down.
That's Melinda's.
Quit. Calm down. Calm down.
We're inside the ambulance.
All right. Chill. Breathe. Okay, we can get him out of here. Hey, look, we're just trying to... Hey. Quit! Get him out!
Calm down.
We're trying to bring you out. Quit!
Watch his head. Hey, quit flinging yourself around, okay? We're trying to get you out of here. All right?
Go ahead, one more.
Please put in the comments, does anyone understand why they would possibly take a person who has a medical emergency out of the one place that can support whatever medical emergencies he's having and take him out of there into a police cruiser, handcuff him and tase him again? Can anyone think what could have possibly been in their minds that made sense? I've never seen anything like this. Again, this is one out of millions of things that happen every year. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, only a fraction of them get caught on video. Either when body cam footage is actually released or when a bystander takes video. This is a fraction of what actually happens. All these videos we see on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and Rumble and so forth is a fraction of what happens. This ends now. Police reform now.
Step at a time, one step at a time.
Go around.
Okay, I got it.
You got it?
What's going on, please?
Simple. Come on, man. Stand up.
Did you see his face? He's completely out of it.
Hey, you really turn it on me. Really freeze my hand, honey.
Closest one.
Yeah, we'll get it. Hey, man, please, hey, you're definitely under the influence of something. Please, man.
What didn't they get when the Burger King worker told them he just had a seizure?
You ready to go, man?
Hey.
I need no honey, man. Hey, man. Oh, please. Please, man. Oh, please. Oh, please.
Your pocket. You out there?
Look at the smile on that one cop's face. They get off on this shit. They are such big heroes. They were able to overpower, 3 of them, actually 4 of them, were able to overpower a barely conscious man who has a medical emergency. God bless the blue.
Yeah. Okay, man, let me go, man.
Stop.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And they're treating him like a complete animal. Way beneath human. Way beneath animals even.
Hey, man.
Hey, stop.
Oh, man.
Listen to me. Just look forward and stop flailing around.
Okay,
Hey, listen.
Woman, please.
Hey, listen.
The look of fear in his eyes. A person who is human couldn't do this to another human. That's why they absolutely see us as subhuman. They wouldn't treat no one. Could you imagine treating someone in distress like this? No, you couldn't. But how many good cops are there, by the way? It's a very important point. How many good cops are there that you've seen in this video? For all the bootlickers and lovers of the blue flag, how many good cops are there? 0. Oh, there's only a few bad apples. There's a cop that does the violence, and then there's all the other ones who could stop it. They even have a fucking gun. Stop or I will shoot you to protect, because I am sworn to serve and protect the citizens. Isn't that right? It says that on all their cars, protect and serve and protect. So they want to serve and protect us, then stop a bad cop from doing this. But instead, all four are delightfully part of this. Continuing.
Yeah, we're good, we're good.
Please, man. Please, yeah.
Oh, use your legs. Cut it out. Use your legs. Stand up. Stand up, sir. Stand up.
So we're going to get us. Okay. Turn around, let him go. Easy. You're right. Please, let me go, man.
I seen you moving around in there. I was like, oh shit.
You taste I can't even get myself out.
See the guy smiling? That piece of shit is smiling. They think this is fun and games. This is depraved sadistic torture. Send this link to the video, all your local, state, federal politicians. This one video encapsulates the entire police culture. Right here.
You got me. Okay, yeah.
Stop.
Now the other cop is smiling and laughing.
I tase you?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. I'm like,
Oh shit.
Is the seatbelt on?
Almost. So he's 95.
Yeah.
34, 31, he's 95. That's me.
All right.
See any good cops stopping him? A person's being tortured in front of them. And they're just going out, hey, what's for dinner, honey? Those EMS guys are really helping out here.
All right, folks, let's talk.
So that is the conclusion of the video. Now, what do you do with this? Again, no violence. I am not calling for violence. Action demanding our local, state, and federal politicians create police reform. Now, not in a month, not in a year. There are, on average, anywhere from 3 to 5 people being killed by cops daily. My latest statistic that I had read recently. But the killing is one part of it. That's the most egregious part of it. It's all the torture that they are doing on citizens, ruining lives constantly, stopping people for nothing more than a taillight, and then going to town on them because we're all criminals. They just don't know what they can charge us with. Just like an example in here that you saw. They didn't know what they could charge him with. They had to charge him with something, even though he was completely innocent. Because cops do what they do. The culture is no different than a rattlesnake. You put a rattlesnake in your pocket and say, rattlesnake, don't bite me now. And about 2 seconds later, ow. Right before you die, like, rattlesnake, why'd you bite me? You knew my nature before you put me into your pocket, idiot. Same with the cops. The culture is the rattlesnake. We need profound police reform, holding the politicians accountable, the chiefs of police, the captains, lieutenants, sergeants. Then it will change. These are my 5 demands for police reform. It's not an all-inclusive list. And please email me at leroytruth247@gmail.com. It's leroytruth247@gmail.com with your additional ideas. I appreciate your support. These are the 5 demands. End qualified immunity right now. End internal investigations right now. Felony to mute or edit or delete or mess with body cam footage in any way. 24-hour release of body cam footage. All chiefs and supervisors held responsible for crimes of all police officers in their department. And number 6, end police unions right now. In conclusion, we are all Leroy Truth because the truth and holding our public officials, police accountable through the transparency of recording video and their daily activities shall keep us free. Take action. Demand reform. I appreciate each and every one of you. And please subscribe to my channel. Please share. Please like. Let's grow this movement to create the outcome we need, not just complain about it. Thank you.